Passion, drive, persistence, resilience, love. All qualities that shape and define us. Join the Cyber Warrior as he helps shape your path. This is Walk With Me. All right, everybody, look, check it out. Once again, you're back for Walk With Me. I know, and I'm coming in the beginning again this time. I promise it's for a good reason. Look, if you've made it this far, you've already made it past the 26-second introduction that I do on my podcast, and I appreciate you. But here's the kicker. In order for this to go anywhere, in order for any of my podcasts, my shows, my content to go anywhere, I need you to engage. So, I don't care if you don't like this podcast. I don't care if you do like this podcast. I'd prefer you did, but hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment down below your thoughts. Please listen to the entire thing or read. I do have the captions come up on the screen in big bold letters. Whatever it is you do, just give it a shot, because it is your engagement that will get this out there to everybody else. So, like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. I do more than just this podcast, so those that have been watching for a while already know. Otherwise, look, I love you all. Please enjoy the show, and I'll see you all at the end. Welcome back to Walk With Me, Cyber Warrior Studios production. I'm your host on this journey, the Cyber Warrior. Now, over the past 2 weeks, we've covered some very powerful emotions that a lot of times influence how we go about living our lives, whether that's our careers, our personal lives, whatever the case may be. And today I want to cover the third one. All right. It's probably right up there with love, because when you think about this particular emotion, a lot of times it can stem from love, and there's a balancing act. So this emotion is hate. Now, growing up personally, I was told to never use the word hate. You can use dislike, you can use despise, a bunch of other terms. But hate was something that was essentially stricken from my vocabulary. I was never allowed to use the word. And the reason for that is because of the definition that my parents and my mother most especially put on the word. And that is, to hate someone is to wish harm upon them. Now, me being me, I never really wish harm on anyone. So I took that to heart, and I am one of those people that I may not like what some people do. I may not like certain things that happen in life, but I do my very best not to wish harm upon anybody. Now, my mom wasn't completely wrong, because if you look up the definition of the word in the dictionary, hate, by Merriam-Webster's definition, means intense hostility and aversion, usually deriving from, and this goes back into what we covered last week, fear, anger, or sense of injury. So when we talked about love, you will notice that a lot of times when there's heartbreak of any sort, then that person immediately says, I hate this person. Because love, as powerful of an emotion as it is, can lead to an opposite extreme. It is a very fine line between love and hate. And even in common language in here in the US, a lot of times we will say, I have a love-hate relationship with a particular item or software or person or whatever the case may be. And I have to be honest that even lately, I have foregone the definition and used it a lot more frequently than I would like. There are certain things about life that I truly despise. There are certain things about society that I truly despise. And I don't want harm necessarily to come to just about anyone. Now, of course, like all people, I have few instances that it wouldn't bother me, but I would probably say 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I don't hate anybody, right? We may not see eye to eye, but I don't hate them. And so when it comes to an emotion like hate, it's one of those things where you really have to rein yourself in. You really have to check your emotions. And it's something that we so often forget to do. We let our emotions control us. So a little bit about this. If we look at any of the past
2 episodes to include this one. And we look at how we are manipulated, whether it's through people or media or whatever, you name it. A lot of times it's based on emotions. Actually, all the time it's based on emotions. You see, someone's not going to use logic to try to manipulate you. Logically, they will try to change your opinion to come around to their way of thinking, but it takes a lot more effort. It takes research. It takes knowing people and knowing the facts. Whereas if you feed on emotion, then you can trigger just about any response you want. So if you want someone to be against a particular person, then you can sow mistrust and sow just about anything to get you to hate somebody or to love somebody or to fear somebody. When you're looking at these extreme emotions, then you can really count on someone using them against you. And if you hate somebody or a particular group or just about anything, and if you use that word and you truly mean it, that you hate somebody that much, then you are very easily manipulated. Now, it's not a bad thing to have emotions. The good ones, love, passion, and even fear at times, can lead you to do great things. But the negative emotions like hate and even, again, fear can lead you to do very, very bad things. Bad for yourself, bad for your mental health, and bad in a lot of ways. So when we look at life, we have to really choose how we want to live. We have to choose whether we want our lives to be a life of fulfillment or if we want it to be negative, right? Where the glass is always half empty, where you're always in a tunnel and you're never going to reach the light. All these things. And I choose to live on the opposite side of that. Now, don't get me wrong. Like everybody, I have my days, months, weeks, and years where I just feel like things aren't ever going to get better. But I try to live positively, right? I try to I love people, right? I try to show that I love others. And I'm very passionate about giving back to the community, giving back to others. So I do the best that I can. Now, I'm not perfect. Nobody is, but I really do try to do my best. And so in order to do that though, anytime things come up in my life, I try to approach it from a logical standpoint and not a standpoint based on emotion, because I know how powerful emotions can be. I know the life it can lead towards. And so when something happens in your life, you have to give it more of a logical thought process. I guess that's kind of what leads me into cybersecurity and the career field that I chose, is because it is very logical. You have to think things through analytically and figure out how best to help others, how best to help organizations, how to enable businesses. So, from my standpoint, I've always been more logical than emotional. Sometimes emotions get the best of me. Again, nobody's perfect, but that's not to say I don't make my best effort to think things through. And I think as a society, as a people, if we started thinking more logically, then we would start seeing through some of the hatred that people say people have. We'd start seeing through some of the fear and start seeing that more of us love one another. More people in the world don't really care about the nonsense that goes on. They care more about the individual person and how they act. So you have to be very cognizant, right? Controlling your emotions is very difficult. And if you don't do things like meditate or look in at yourself and take an introspective look at yourself, then frequently what you'll find is that the reason you may hate or some other emotion that is negative, someone else or something else, anything negative, is because deep down you're seeing something in yourself that may not necessarily still be there, right? I forget what I was watching. I was watching something recently, and basically what they said was that a lot of negative emotions, a lot of things like hate and things like that, stem from the fact that maybe you have outgrown your past self. Maybe in the past you did certain things, you acted a certain way. And so now that you have grown beyond that, when you see that other person acting as you did, it's more of a self-hatred for yourself, but you are imposing that on someone else. So think about that for a second. Truly think about that. Now, that's not to say people don't hate for no reason. It happens. But it's just to say that you as a logical person, you as a person who has gotten better every day, but yet for some reason, you just don't like something about someone else. It could be because of that, because there is something about yourself in the past that you are now better than, but you see that in somebody else. And so you don't like it. And more, it's a reflection in a mirror, maybe an earlier reflection, but still a reflection of who you used to be. And so I want you to think about that. I want you to think about these emotions that we've discussed over the past few weeks and how you let them affect your daily life. Now, love, passion, fear, hate, these are very, very strong emotions. And even love can be used against you. Even love can be taken advantage of. So it is always best to reflect, and before responding to something, before acting on anything, evaluate the situation. Think through all the consequences of your actions and of the things you may or may not say, because sometimes leaving things unsaid is worse. And sometimes saying something is worse. So really think about that. Truly think about that, because that's something that I don't think we do often enough, is reflect on ourselves and our actions and the things we say and don't say, and the emotions we have portrayed and the emotions that we have let get the best of us. So over the next week, please think about that. Please think about the emotions you've let run your life. Has it always been good? Has it always been bad? Because I guarantee you that, yeah, some of them have led to good things, but bet you some of them have led to bad things too. And if you just sat back and thought about it and with a clear head, then maybe things wouldn't have turned out so bad. So take that into consideration, all right? And consider that going on throughout your life. Reflect on everything you've done. Don't live in the past, by all means, but reflect on who you are today and who you were then. And look at all the actions and the choices you made throughout your life and see which ones were made based on emotion. And if it was made based on emotion, was that the right consequence that you were looking for? Was that the right reaction you were expecting? Or did something happen that you weren't expecting, a consequence you didn't foresee, because instead of thinking things through, you reacted emotionally? So take that into consideration. Now, as we finish up this episode, I kind of want to get back to the wisdom that we were giving at the end of every other episode. And this one is a little bit different of a translation, but it's still from the Havamal. And this is actually the Wanderer's Havamal by Jackson Crawford. And this comes from stanza 48. And this definitely leads into talking about how we can live with better emotions and live a good life. So, kind, brave people live best. They never nurture a grudge, but an unwise man worries about everything. He dreads even repaying a gift. Now, I bring this up and I talk about this because as today's episode was about hate, we also talked about love and passion and fear. Sometimes we are afraid of things, or we have so much negativity built up that we hold grudges for people that just waste our energy. And really, holding a grudge is a waste of energy. It's a waste of mental capacity and a waste of space in your head. So we need to stop holding grudges. We need to be kind to one another, and we need to really see things through. So saying that, understand I love you all, every single one of you. Whoever listens to this, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. If you wouldn't mind, please rate this episode and also share it, comment, whatever the case may be. Take a look in the show notes or the description below, depending on what you're listening to this on, and find my AMA down there. It's anonymous, so that we can start answering more of your questions every week. And also you will find all the ways you can support us. So, and follow us on social media. So thank you for joining me for another week. Thank you for going on this walk with me and this journey. And I am your host, the Cyber Warrior. And I will be sure to be talking to you all next week.
Hey, you made it. It's the end of the show. All right. Or at least the episode. So this is what I want you to do. If you've made it this far, do me a favor, put hashtag walk with me down in the comments. Or we can go one better and say hashtag Odin's Day. Since this podcast, every new episode that comes out is actually released on Odin's Day, on Wednesday, which is a day of wisdom, which is all this podcast is about, is spreading wisdom. So go ahead, drop either hashtag Odin's Day or hashtag walk with me in the comments below. Greatly appreciate it. And once again, if you haven't liked this episode or disliked it, whatever you thought, go ahead and do so. Finally, if you do want some awesome merchandise, polos, hoodies, shirts, patches, stickers, you name it, go to my website, cyberwarriorstudios.com. All the ways you can support us are in the description below. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you all next time.